This is a very
Oh,
important topic that I don't think we've ever discussed this on these calls.
10
So,
years is a long time. That
Yeah,
gives
it's
you
a long time.
plenty of time. Wow.
Yeah. So with this particular person, the maturity date was 2021 when we started
so
working on
this
it.
loan did mature, and
Yes.
then, a lot of these states have it after the maturity, you still got another 20 years before the loan just goes away. Just
In
gone.
Nevada, or is
Pretty
that
much in all the
national?
In
throughout the
many
whole
states, yeah.
in many states. I'm gonna say just about the whole country. After 20
hmm
years of maturity date passing, with no activity, the loan just kind of goes away. If you could lay low, man, for 20 years
A
after the
really
maturity
long
date,
time.
talk about being
Yeah.
patient. And so we were using David Roy, well, we still do. And David Roy, and he's our Florida attorney. Tom, you gave us David Roy.
Hmm.
And he has always been under the impression Florida has a 5-year statute of limitations and then a 20-year statute of limitations on top of that maturity date, for the loan to just get gone. And so it was kind of his belief, his understanding, his interpretation that we should only go back in the arrears for that 5 years. So if it's January of 2024, with the 5 years, we can only go back to like February of 2019 and stay within 4 years and 9 or 10 or 11 months. And so we
Hmm.
did that with all of our Florida loans. So we had quite a few. And we were just going by his rule of thumb on other states as well. If it's good enough for David Roy, it's good enough for us. By the way, we're very happy with David Roy and the way he handles things. So we meet up with another attorney. This is actually not on one of our loans. This was, I was helping out one of my students with his attorney. Now, this is in New York, which is the absolute worst state to buy a note in that I've ever seen in my entire life. You are guilty as a mortgage owner. You are guilty until you're proven innocent. And typically, when we're working with other states, the burden of proof of payment is on the borrower. Hey, you say you
Hmm.
sent us a check, show me the canceled check, show me the statements, show
Hmm.
me your bank statements, whatever you have. And in New York, you have to, as the lender, provide a pay history. Now, the problem is if you use the statute of limitations thought process to only go back in New York, I think statute of limitations also 5 years. If you go back from January of 2024 back 5 years to 2019, even though the borrower stopped paying in 2010, you have no pay history to prove your numbers that you're providing to the foreclosure judge. Now, these are judges, that are handling these things. And so this thing is recording, right? Yeah. Um, so this attorney that one of my students was using, there was some confusion back and forth as to how we're going to handle this. Because we have a pay history that takes us up to 2010 from the previous lender, and then the loan transferred to him, and he had no pay history going forward from 2010 until 2024 when he started this foreclosure. I said, well, that's easy enough. I'll just go into Moneylender Professional and I can input zeros for every month that they didn't pay from 2010 until today's date. And I did that. And I was like 15 pages of non-payment and interest accruing and late fees. And then when that loan matured, then I stopped charging them late fees and just kept continuing accruing interest. And I had this big long pay history ledger that I created by adding just zeros to every month, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And I presented that to the attorney, who then presented that to the judge. Now, this judge, thank God, was not very savvy with numbers. Let's just say that. Very liberal judge in New York who, I think math is racist, right? And so they just didn't. It just went over their head when we presented this to him. Now my student, he got deposed. He was on 2 7-hour depositions,
Wow.
2 full day depositions by, again, a liberal attorney who just likes the idea of fighting the big bad bank.
Yeah.
And my
Not to
guy,
mention he's billing his client for all that deposition time as well.
both of them, our
Yeah.
attorney too. It was almost like, when I say our attorney, his attorney, but I was in on every email chain, dude. They're both idiots. And our attorney was really sounding like he was their attorney. But then he had to play that role because that's how they are going to be to us. So I asked this guy, John, the attorney, I'm like, are you on our side? He goes, I'm totally on your side. I'm giving you a taste of what it's going to be like to go through this process from their eyes. I have to show you how bad it's going to be from their side of the desk. And I'm like, oh my, I'll never buy another New York note ever. Well, it finally ended up getting resolved, and the borrower sold their house, and we got paid, or he got paid, and that was the end of that. But New York is horrible. And so the argument, the conversation with our attorney was, had they questioned that pay history that we provided, which I didn't think they would, because a lot of people are not number savvy, and to be able to crunch the documents the way we do with Moneylender Professional is very interesting. And we've never been challenged. And had that been challenged as a pay history, it's like, well, what else can you do? They didn't pay. It was a 0.
Mm-hmm.
And you accrued interest. It really is a true pay history. It's not like we created some figment of our imagination as to how this loan was serviced and handled. It's not like every month we went in there and put the date in, and then I open it up every month. What's the difference if I go and recreate a pay history, or just provide them with these zeros? So the argument is on David Roy's side is to just go back for the statute of limitations and foreclose from that, because they're never going to argue that they owe you more than they should by only going back 5 years instead of going back 15 years. If you go back 5 years and they're like, well, I stopped paying this thing in 2009, but they're only going back to 2019. Let's just go with their numbers. And that's how it's always been. We've only gone back 5 or 6 years according to the statute of limitations on secured debt. But then, to this guy, John's Riccardi's point, this other attorney in New York, is we should go for full debt because we don't have a pay history that matches going back to only 2019. We do have a pay history that matches the true exact last time they made payments, which is 2008. And so for the last 3 or 4 notes that we started foreclosure on, the last, I don't know, 3 months, right, Joel? 4 months, we've been going full debt and getting it. And our argument is I have a pay history that goes to 2009. I can't produce a false pay history. And so we've been getting some pretty large checks
Mm.
because of this ruling. You know what? Hold on for 1 second. Julie, you want to do a little talking, or Jimmy? I just got to get my phone. Hold on.
Oh, I didn't want to unmute there for a second.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's been pretty interesting to kind of see all sides of this between what my mom does, what my dad does. It's been pretty cool. And all of the different states has been pretty interesting for sure. All the different attorneys that we get to deal with.
Mm. I can
I'm
imagine.
sure. I was gonna say, I'm sure you guys all know exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
You know, it was funny when I think I might have mentioned this to somebody. I'm just gonna at the idea of repeating myself. I was at a Pete Fortunato event, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, and I was hot to trot on notes. I still am. I haven't found anything better, found a better way to make money. And somebody stands up at a Pete Fortunato event, and it was just kind of an open mic Q&A, and somebody says, "What about non-performing second mortgages?" And Pete just goes, "Do you like lawyers?" And the guy's like, "No." And the whole room said no. And I'm like, I'm okay with them. He goes, "The non-performing note business is all about lawyers." And I'm like, you know what? He's absolutely right. And if it's attorney management, it's borrower management, and it's servicer management. And I eliminated the servicer management. I don't, I don't think we have any notes at servicing. And I haven't paid a servicing bill in quite a while.
Mm.
We definitely don't have any notes at a servicer. We had a couple of bankruptcy notes that we left in there just because they were used to handling it. But
I will
yeah,
say though, real quick about that servicing, we have noticed that at least one lawyer that I could think of, they've changed their policy, and I think they're doing an exception for us because of the history there, but they won't deal with self-serviced um, notes anymore or something like that. I don't know that we have all the info on that, and it could just be that one person. But we were grandfathered in a way, but hopefully that's not a trend that's coming up. But I have to imagine it has to do with so many people not knowing what they're talking about in the field, coming in and buying notes, and not knowing how to move forward with them.
well, that's a true story, you know, and with New York especially. Like I said, I will never in my life again buy another New York or a New Jersey note because they are so in the borrower's favor of wanting to just say, no, this is not a valid lien. It's secured. It's a secured mortgage. I remember when I was buying houses here in 2000, and my mortgage broker's like, man, I can't believe we got so many of these things through because these banks do not want to lend in New York and New Jersey. And Tony, I'm sure you were aware of that. Um,
But yeah, there's no way I would ever buy in New Jersey. Pretty likely on not New York either, but Jersey is just so regulated in so many ways, and that's definitely one of them.
yep.
Mm.
And mortgage lending was very difficult in the 2000s. I couldn't imagine what it's like now. Um, so yeah, attorney management is probably the biggest part of this business. I think the other part of this business is the networking of people. And I wanted to talk a little bit about this evening. Um, so I'm heading to Nashville in a couple of days. We're leaving here Wednesday. Yeah, we're leaving here Wednesday, and we're gonna get to Nashville Wednesday night. We're driving, believe it or not. And so let me just stop this sharing for a second here. And so I wanted to show you guys this. This is really, really something. So I don't know when you guys have been to the last event, but it seems to be the trend now for the last, I don't know, 5 years or so, is they make these event apps for your phone. And it really started out with just having the speaker schedule line up so that you can say, oh, okay, so this one's coming on at 2 o'clock. I don't want to miss that. Or a lot of events now we're having, which is really cool, they have multi-room events. And there's 3 different rooms or 4 different rooms. And you have to choose what topic you're going to go see because they have 4 different rooms going with 4 different speakers at the exact same time slot from 2 to 3 o'clock. Room number 1, 2, 3, and 4 all have 4 different topics, 4 different speakers. And it's really fun to arrange. I've helped arrange a few of these events to say, well, you can't have 4 rooms going all on bankruptcy at the same time. You have to be, it'll be one on bankruptcy, one on short sales, one on wholesaling, and one on notes. So that you've got 4 different rooms on 4 completely different topics. You don't want to have any conflicting rooms because now you feel like you're left out. So anyway, that's how the app started. And then they started allowing you to view their email address. Now, for me, the way that I used to collect email addresses was getting business cards, talking to people, doing a handshake, try to get your 5-minute pitch in, and then go to the next person to touch all 300 people. Impossible. I've never done it. So then I went to the Eddie Speed event in Texas in 2022. Right? I came home with COVID. So 2022, it might have been November of 2021, I believe. Texas was kind of a wide open state and they weren't worried too much about the bug. And so they weren't using, this is called Hoova. This is the software that's called Hoova. They had another app. There's 4 or 5 of them that do this networking event software. And I was sitting there on the plane going home with my laptop open and the app on my phone open, and I'm typing in everybody's email address and name on a spreadsheet. And I got 280 people to go through this. And I'm like, this is sweet. And then I saw download here, and I downloaded the whole damn spreadsheet. And so 223 people had agreed to lend out their email address, just like you were talking about, Jewel, today, where you can put in kind of a bogus email address that is not your actual bread and butter email address.
Like an alias.
Like an alias, like an Apple alias. I think we were
Yeah,
talking.
many services do that. I think even Gmail does it too now.
Yeah. And so people are giving out these either real email addresses or aliases. And now you can go and communicate with these people and not even like, I paid, I don't know, $500 or $600 for this event to go to this event, but it would have been worth it, or it still would be worth it, just to pay for the event, just to get your hands on this Hoova application to be able to talk with all these people. So it's pretty cool. So you've got, let me just show you this. Let me zoom in a little bit here. So you've got here, whoa. You've got home, then you've got agenda. And so in agenda, you've got all your speakers and the calendars. And then here you've got all the attendees. And so yeah, you can bookmark, you can view their profile and get in touch with these people, which is huge. I mean, this is why you go to events. Like Julie, here's our attorney that is handling one of our foreclosures right now. And this was really the only reason to go to these events for me was to network. And now I can get my hands on, this is the organizer. And here's his website. I can get all of his contact information. And I haven't even gone to the event yet. It's crazy. And they've got the community. These are all of the different events, the organizers. I put a few things in here. What did I put in here? Self-directed IRA study group. And this ties back to Truly Passive website. And I put in a retirement club to join. And now I'm going to go and talk to these people and tell them, hey, listen, you know, I put something in here. Why don't you join my study group and network with these people? And then you can message people. Hey, I'm going to be, you know, having lunch on Saturday. Why don't everybody come and I'll buy you a sandwich? And then they've got this thing called the leaderboard. And the way this works is it works by points, how active you are on this website. So you can, let me zoom out a little bit here. So you can see if you add a topic or a social group, you can get up to 20,000 points. You suggest meetups, and these are my points. These are points that I've earned. So I sat down for a couple hours today fooling around with this, and I made it up to number 2 on the leaderboard by being the more active, the better. And I'm gonna game this thing. I'm gonna get the max points on this whole thing, and just be that guy. So I don't know about you guys, but this is why I go to events and spend all the money in the hotels and this and that, is to get into these connections. And for the cost of the ticket, had I probably known this, I probably wouldn't. The only reason I'm really going to this event is because I'm meeting one person, a person I met on YouTube, or who found me on YouTube, and he could take down $100 million worth of non-performing paper, and I want to hang with this guy. And he's like, oh, come on down. I would love to hang with you. I'm like, okay, I'm coming. I'm like, I know all these people already, but I'll go down there and just hang out with you. And so that's really why I'm heading out there. But if I was just, and I'm going to do this for the next time, is just pay for the ticket to get onto the app to network with everybody, and don't even bother going to the event. Unless there's really something there or some people there that I want to get in touch with. I remember in the very beginning when I was learning this business from Peter Andrews, he had told us that he had bought the rights to be a vendor at 2 New Jersey RIA meetings. And it was cheap. It was like $700 total for him to become a vendor member. And with the right of becoming a vendor member, he was given like 12,000 email addresses of all the members and all the previous members. And he used that email list to find us note buyers that wanted to learn the note business, and pretty freaking brilliant. I mean, it's not easy to get in touch with a lot of people that so anyway, I thought that maybe you guys find that interesting. Does anybody have any experience with these types of apps so far?
I think I've seen that one that different events use, but obviously
Well, you guys use this on the cruise.
Did we?
Yeah, Hoover. That's how I was introduced to it. Because I was going through my old lists and I'm like, oh, yeah, the cruise guys.
Maybe I don't
Totally.
on Investor Addicts Cruise or somebody
Investor
else's.
addicts. Investor addicts.
Man, I don't remember. Um, uh, uh, unless Nathan was doing it, he's kind of our tech guy, but I don't
He
remember
was. He
doing
was
that.
doing it. Yeah, Nathan had it going.
Okay,
Hmm.
we'll find out more about that.
Yep. Let me just stop this for a second. But so powerful if that's the kind of thing that you're into, and I am super into it. Yeah, so let me check out Hova, WHOVA. And I'll find it for the cruise here. Okay, so they used it for the family office event that I went to. Okay, Family Office Club, Monday, the December. This is back in 2021. So this was an event that I went to. There was 800 people at that thing, and I only knew two of them. So this is called the familyoffices.com, and family offices are all multimillionaire and billionaire people that are looking to safely put their money somewhere. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what a family office is, like Johnson and Johnson,
Mhm.
that's a family office. Um,
That's very commonly referred to on CNBC. So I assume that's what that was. It's very often they talk about family offices.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, these people were like ridiculous amounts of money. And we went to that. So that was in December 3rd, 2021. So that was right in the middle of COVID too. And here was 800 people in this place.
I remember when that event went on.
Oh, face to face.
Are they
Yeah.
still
Did I
having
meet
annual
did I
gatherings
meet you
there
there
in
down
Port?
there? Did we
Not
get
me.
did we get
No.
together? Not at the family office, but did we meet in Miami or anything?
I don't think so. It was a couple of years ago, but I don't remember. It's possible.
Yeah. But yeah, if you look at Richard C. Wilson Family Office, it'll give you an idea of what these people are all about. And it's a serious program. But I was very pleasantly surprised, I guess you could say, or surprised. They weren't getting aggressive deals like the deal I just showed you, buying something for $3,000, turning it into a big number. They were all about was preserving the cash that they already made. And they didn't want inflation to eat that money up. And they must be flipping out now with inflation the way it is compared to the returns that they could get. They were happy at this event in 2021 to be getting a 6% return. And 6 was like a happy number for them. I'm like, 6%, man. That's horrible. Well, 6% on $100 million is you can live off that pretty comfortably. It's very interesting dynamic, a completely different mindset of people that are trying to acquire money compared to people that are trying to hold on to their money. It's a totally different mindset. I love it. It was so fascinating to see a complete mind change from people that already made their money. What are they thinking about? What are they talking about? And they're talking about getting solid, stable returns, usually with some type of multifamily or commercial property. A lot of them are probably getting crushed right now because of what's going on in commercial space, which is really going to be fascinating going forward. As of this date, this is May of 2024. This year at this time, next year at this time, I can't wait to see the different changes. And Tom, you and I were just talking about the different changes that, what were we talking about? Changes that are coming on the horizon. I guess with
Market
insurance.
conditions, yeah. Condominium requirements to engineer and update their structures. Yeah, I think and all that's gonna have an impact on the market, no doubt.
Yep.
At least the Florida market where we have a lot of condos.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. That's all you got.
Along the water, yeah. It'd be a good time to scoop up something really good, but that doesn't take away the assessment issues and the HOA and management issues, the high cost of insurance. Condominium ownership is gonna be in some real interesting times in the next 12 months.
Well, yeah, we were actually going to, I see one of my new student didn't get on here, but he wanted to discuss on his call tonight a note that he's looking at on a condo in Florida. And we were going to do some due diligence on that. I was hoping he'd be on the call. We could do it live and work on this thing a little bit kind of in front of everybody. But what, Julie, what are you, if you're there, what kind of interesting deals have we been working on the last couple of days?
Last couple of days.
Yeah,
I can pull the
I
Evernote
mean, we
back
just
up.
figured out that we were going to work on that one borrower because we were using the wrong CMA evaluation, right?
Right. Yeah, we've got two new people that we want to move forward with. Sorry, I feel like I've got a sneeze coming on. We did just get confirmation that one is closed, so we're happy about that. That was a tricky one where it looked like we were recorded incorrectly before even buying it. So that was complicated.
What was recorded? The assignment?
Yeah, the assignment was recorded. Previous to our purchasing it, it was recorded kind of wonky or whatever you want to say, like out of date. I think it was satisfied before it was sold. And then when we got a hold of it, we recorded it rather than trying to fix it first. So now we know moving forward that you would
Okay.
get that fixed before recording it on our end.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And
So it's
then we're
pretty
moving
interesting.
forward with two new ones.
Two new ones.
Yeah. 'cause
New in the sense of we're just putting them on now that we've got a couple closed. We had the one that we talked about earlier closed, and then this one is closed. So we're bringing two more in. So yeah, it's just a matter of like going through documents and looking back at 2018, 19, seeing what they were doing, seeing what they were up to, pre-COVID really, and bringing it forward.
Then you found a loan today, right?
Yeah.
So
Those two, yeah. So I went through, we've got a non-performing spreadsheet where all of the non-performers are listed. With a couple pieces of data, I went through and found out all the counties, and then I found out which states expire when, and then I added that in. So, for example, if it's in Nevada, it expires in 10 years. So it's like a 10-year non-performing maturity date. So I put that data in there too. So like, yes, statute. So like in one column, I had the borrower's name, then I've got the maturity date, And then, I've got that color coded. So, for example, one doesn't expire until 2037, so I mark that as green, as in go ahead and ignore it. Then we've got a couple that have, in theory, expired, a couple years ago. So those are red. And then I've got the one that expires like very, very soon, which actually expires the end of this year, in orange. So we've got the address, the city, the state with the county, statute of limitations with the year. So if it, that kind of thing.
Good job.
And then our percentage of ownership, which is important, the UPB, and then the Zillow that I update every once in a while. So
And then
this estimate compared to the UPP.
Then we had another loan that we forgot about that fell off in March of 2020, right in the beginning of COVID. They had mailed us, the last check they mailed us was $650.
Yeah.
And that was the last
The check
we
before
saw.
that bounced. That's why, the check was supposed to be a lower amount, but the check before that they sent us bounced. So they had to make up for that and have a small, I think it was like a $20 fee. So that was that last check.
And
Which
so we
is,
kind of forgot all about that note.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, and their maturity date is set for 2024, so this year, and that's a Michigan note.
oh, Michigan.
Yeah, that's the Michigan one.
Okay.
Um,
And so Tilly and Berylli are Michigan?
yeah, they'll cover this one.
Perfect.
Yep. Yeah, so we're gonna send out some reinstatement kind of paperworks to them, rerun the numbers on that, update all of that stuff, and send that out.
Very good. Good. And
Yeah.
then so what I want to do now is I want to introduce I saw you just was able to jump on. I want to introduce Scott. Hey Scott, if you could unmute yourself, I'd like to chat with you for a few minutes.
Yeah, hi, Mike. I was traveling, so unfortunately, a little delay.
Oh, so were you listening before?
I just lost like 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. So Scott, you live out in California, and he's heading down to Nashville, and we're gonna be able to hang out together, which is cool.
Yeah.
And so Scott, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you plan on getting out of this program, and what you would like to do with your future going forward?
Okay. Well, I'm mainly focusing on a bit focusing on non-performing notes, residential notes, non-performing collateral values of about $50 to $250,000. In most states, I usually stay away from New York, Maryland, and Rhode Island, but I mean, I wouldn't necessarily not look at those, but my interests are in most other states. And yeah, I've been doing this for a few years, putting in bids, doing due diligence, all those great things. And right now I've got a note I'm looking at in a judicial state, and it's from what I can tell, it's gone through bankruptcy. There was a list pendants that was going on. I got the collateral files, so there's a lot to go through there. And yeah, so I'm not totally new, but still have a lot to learn.
Cool. Yeah, I just wanted to welcome you to this group.
Appreciate that.
And I was going to have a networking session. Maybe we can do that in a couple of weeks, just so that I could put you in with a break room into a breakout room with everybody else and get a chance to meet everybody. And we don't have time for it now because we're just about to wrap up at 8:00 Eastern. But yeah, why don't you give us a little bit of detail without giving us too much detail about that condo in Florida? Because we were just talking about condos in Florida.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, yeah, like I said, I mean, it looks new from what I can gather. They provided some exterior photos, and there's actually, I think, from a previous time when it was listed, there's a blurb about a lot of improvements. It's about 1,300 square feet, and I don't know really what else I could go into. I've
Yeah.
gone over. There's a lot of a lot of documentation on the collateral file. They have notes on what's been going on. There was actually, I mean, there was a lawsuit filed. I'm trying to go into Pacer to find out the overall outcomes. It looks like it was dismissed without prejudice, and during one of the maybe more than one lawsuit, because what happened with one of them was the defendant actually received a judgment for like $40,000, but I'm not sure why. So I'm going to be looking into that. I got an ONI report that's about 200 pages. So so yeah, I'm kind of overwhelmed actually with what. I mean, do you have any tips as far as what to look out for, or what to
Well,
what to
yeah. So
prioritize?
first of all, who'd you get the O&E from?
Pro Title USA.
What is it?
Pro Title USA.
Oh, Pro Title. Yeah, $100. Yeah. I mean, sitting down, going through a Pro Title title swipe is probably one of the best exercises you can go through. Trying to figure out who's on first, who's on second, how long everything has been in place. Some of those things read like a who's who of who's been in a non-performing note business, because it's gone from this assignment to that assignment to this assignment to that assignment to you. And it's like, oh, I know those people. I know those people.
Yeah, I figure so.
It's a very small world, in the
Right.
non-performing junior lien space as well.
Mhm.
This condo loan is a first that you're looking at, right?
First, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And
It's,
so what I
it's a,
wanted to do real quick is, I know that Tom has to jump off in a few minutes here. So Tom, can you just kind of reflect a little bit about so Tom's down in Florida, and
right.
he's been down in Florida for since high school, right? Just about.
Yes, I moved down in 79.
All right. What area?
I moved to Broward County originally, but now I'm in Charlotte County on the West Coast.
West Coast. All right.
And
All
so,
right.
Tom's had his finger on the pulse for, I don't want to date you, Tom. Couple of
Go
years.
for it. My numbers are the same as yours.
I know. So Tom and I actually went to high school, which is crazy. And then we reunited about, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, because he's a hotshot real estate investor in Florida, and jumped into my course. And then we've been working ever since together. And he was mentioning the fact of what's going on with the condo associations in Florida, where they have been since these condos were built in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Due to that one condo collapse, they've come in and mandated regular inspections on these condo materials that were built, right, Tom? And why don't you just give me a little rundown on what you know about that?
Yeah, they've been handing people assessments that people have to pay, the condominium owners, for neglected repairs and rebuilding balconies and all that expensive stuff that involve concrete and rebar. They've been kicking the can down the road, saying, all right, we'll do it in 5 years, do it in 10 years. Well, that was one of the factors that led to that condo collapse on Miami Beach. So now the state has passed some more stringent rules saying you can't do that anymore. You got to get regular engineering reports, which are expensive. And then you have to have the work performed, which is equally as expensive, if not more. And so now that condominiums are doing this, they're getting those engineering reports and doing the work. They're handing people special assessment bills of all amounts, and I'm hearing $20,000 to $100,000, and the people just can't pay it. But with the escalation in the market values over the last just 2 or 3 years, they have equity, so they're forced to sell their units just to be able to, pay off their mortgages and pay off the special assessment bills that they've been handed. So that would probably play into a paper purchase as well, just to be aware of what's going on in that specific homeowners association or condominium owners association, to make sure that I guess you got to factor that into what the note, the payer on that note is going to be subject to.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't see any mention of that in the notes I've seen so far, but I'll be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that
I mean,
probably won't
that's
show up on a title report.
that's going to be statewide. I mean, that is
Yeah.
statewide.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of condos on the water, and like I was talking to you earlier, Scott, I use condos to kind of stick my toe in the water to see how what the market is
Right.
doing.
Mhm.
And
Inflation.
I feel that condos are the first to go when the real estate market starts to turn,
Mhm.
because there's
Mhm.
no real land other than the association owning the land. There's no real land. It's just you're buying the air rights in a lot of cases.
Mhm.
And they're the first to lose valuation. And that's just kind of my gut. And when one person says, you know what, I got my house listed, a condo, it's hasn't sold, all the listings are very similar to, it's a 2-bed, 2-bath, and they've all gone for 350, and now I've got mine on the market for 350 and it's not selling. Let me go to 325. Well, then you go to 325 and then that one sells and you accept a 310. Well, that's more than a 10% drop. And
Yeah.
now when comps are going to be performed, they're going to go to your last sold one for 310, and now that your property is going to tank down to 310 when you go to list it. Even if you listed it because of a fire sale because you had to get the heck out of there, your newest next comp is going to be 310. Now I'm not a big realtor or anything about comps, but I know enough to think that condos are contagious with valuations. And if what I had seen a realtor, you could probably go through Truly Passive and go through the news feed, and I put up about 5 or 6 months ago a realtor who was saying the exact same thing about these 5-year inspections that are going to be super expensive, and they're going to pass that on to the homeowner, to the HOA, and then pass that on to the HOA fees. And so you may find yourself in a niche of something that you want to get involved in, but make sure you find yourself that it is something that you want to get involved in and have a handle on it instead of being the first one in. And it could very well be why these people are struggling right now. I
Hey
think
guys, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna jump off and I'll
Tom,
see
thank
you
you
all
so
on the
much,
next
man. It was
call.
great.
Yeah,
Thanks, Tom.
good talking with you all.
Tell what's his name?
Augie,
Tell him Bila. What's his name?
Augie,
Augie
yeah,
Bilot. Tell him I said hello.
will do.
All right, thanks.
Take
All
care,
right,
Tom.
see you guys.
Bye bye. And so, yeah, I mean, this could be a whole niche thing. And like I said, if you go through Truly Passive, you will see a great documentary video that one of the really smart realtors in town posted. I don't even know how to search through this quickly, but I'm gonna stop my share. I don't need that. but yeah, so that's something to be really careful about. I'd be interested to know how that deal actually works out, Scott, and who ends up with it. You never
Yeah, I
know.
mean,
You know?
yeah, I've got, my time frame for the due diligence, so, yeah, I'll be in touch about it.
And the other thing I want to stress, because I know you're early into this, into my education program. I don't know what material you've covered and what you haven't, but primarily when you're buying first mortgages, you're probably going to end up with the property. That's just like people just say, I walk away, I'm done, and that's that. Um, because I can't handle another foreclosure. I'm not going to go through bankruptcy again. I'm just going to walk away. And you might end up with a property with a deed in lieu. You might have to give them $500 for cash for keys or something. And then you end up with the property. And now when they come a knocking looking for that inspection money, just be aware that um, owning the property is not always the best thing in the world. I don't know if you know, we've owned property that we weren't too crazy about. The first note that I ever did was a first mortgage that I bought in York, Pennsylvania. And I think it was 2008. I bought that note, and it was in the worst part of York, Pennsylvania that you could find.
In the ghetto.
Oh, Tony, that's right, Tony. You were there. You were there a couple of times. And I hired you to do some work on that. That's right. Oh my God. You remember that? And so I made money on it.
Yeah,
Get me wrong.
that was special. The
That
gun
was
shop, that was a little freaky though.
a $60,000 Wells Fargo note that I bought for $12,500. And
First mortgage?
I got a hold of the borrower who was living out in Wyoming or Montana or something. And his mother was renting this place out to a woman and her family. And her mother was going by and collecting the rent every month. And I called this guy up and I said, you want to sign this property over? And he says, yes, I do. After thinking about selling it, and he's like, you know what, let me just sign it over to you. I told him I'll give you $500 if I get 2 full months rent payment. And he told me the rent was $250 a month. So
Wow.
I said, you give me 2 full months rent and I'll send you a check for $500. He goes, that's great. He says, well, I got to tell you, I lied to you. I'm like, now what? He said, I'm not getting $250 a month. I'm getting $475. I'm like, okay, well, that's even better. And I own that note inside of my self-directed IRA. And that's why I hired Tony to go out and help me do a little lead-based paint remediation. And
Oh, yeah, you mentioned this one in your training. I just went over that.
oh, okay.
In the course.
So yeah, so the city, once I signed the deed in lieu and recorded the deed, the county, no, the city got in touch with me and said, there's a lead-based paint remediation
Right.
issue with
Yeah, I
this.
remember hearing that.
And so I called around. One guy said it's going to be like $10,000. I called another guy. He's like, listen, dude, all you got to do is put some latex paint over the lead-based paint, vacuum with a HEPA vacuum and a few other things. The town will come in, do a swab test, and you'll be fine. And so I call up Tony. I'm like, what are you doing this weekend? You want to take a ride out?
Got plans for you.
Oh, no, I think we were out there for the Wednesday night call, weren't we?
Maybe.
Yeah. And so
Well, that's right. We were in the hotel.
we were
Yep.
in the hotel,
Yep.
and I
was
paid
fun.
Tony, I don't know, $1,250 to come out of my IRA. And we went out and did the job, and he put it into his name, so it didn't look like I was doing anything with my self-directed IRA, not a hands-on transaction, but a hands-off because I use his company. We had a good time. We got the thing remediated. The town came in. did their thing, passed the test, and then a year later, I had sold that property and got 25,000 for it. Again, in my IRA, I made a nice rent during that time, and then I sold it for twice what I paid for it. But that guy David calls me up and he says, the guy who used to own the house, he said, "Did you ever get that lead-based paint remediated?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, that was the first thing I did. They gave me a 30-day deadline or something." He's like, "Well, they're extraditing me to Pennsylvania for not doing the work." I said, "Well, the work was done, just so you know." He's like, "Oh no, I don't know what to say." I said, "Well, you should have taken care of it." He ignored those remediation letters for probably a couple of years. And so that was my first. My first. I haven't never said that. And so yeah, when you're fooling around with first mortgages, you probably will end up with the property. And if you end up with this condo, you could end up being on the hook for any of those inspection fees, just to beware. I'm not trying to scare you out of it. I love people that go out and do deals. But it's the hard deals or the first deals that you remember the most. And
So
I
when
don't.
I like talk directly to the current note holder about that, about any discussion on this kind of assessment,
Okay.
would I do that, or
Oh yeah. So when I'm looking at notes, and I think the seller has an idea, and this was early on, this was a good practice too. Let's just say that York deal, the guy had a $25,000 purchase price for that note. So after me doing the due diligence, I should have been able to find that lead-based paint remediation request recorded on that property and gone back to the person who was selling me that note and say, "Listen, I've got some information that you don't have." "Oh, what do you got?" I said, "Well, this house is in big trouble with a lead-based paint issue. The kid went to grade school. They did a lead-based paint test on all the kids, and this kid tested positive for high levels of lead in his blood." "Oh, well, you want to take this note on?" I said, "Yeah, but not for $25,000. If I was savvy back then. Same thing here. You could do your research on this condo association to find out if they have any other people are chatting about having to pay exorbitant fees for this construction remediation. Because some of these condos are going to be in big trouble. And I was talking before about the type of testing that you're going to have to do on the rebar inside the cement columns that built these condos. Some people used salt water to mix the cement.
salt water?
Salt
There's
water.
all kinds of weird stuff. I mean, you might even want to spend a couple of minutes and see if you can read the story about that collapse in Miami. I'm in
Yeah.
Florida, in Southwest, and I remember when that happened. And I think they lost like 20 people or something. And they really should have known that was going on. In fact, they kept claiming they were going to get to it. They were going to get to it. And it was literally right on the water. So there was this compromised parking garage or something, if I
Parking
remember
garage.
correctly.
Yep.
And eventually it just had, compromised the structure in such a way that, the front of the building, the back of the building just collapsed and sheared off, every apartment all the way to the top floor.
Crazy.
The apartments were basically cut in half. It was crazy.
Yeah, I'm doing a search now. It says it was in Surfside, Florida.
And maybe I can't remember. It was in the Miami area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's another story that there's one that says they estimated, I mean, this was like maybe a year ago, 160,000 per condo assessment.
But what was it? Are they dropping or condos dropping?
Oh, no, I need to look into that as well, but I just did a quick search
Yeah.
and, yeah, I mean, one complex, well, there was one special assessment mentioned of like $30 million, average of 160 per unit. I'll have to look into whether or not the prices are dropping. It says actually Miami condo owners fleeing site safety regulations. This is just May 15 of 2024. It says they're being priced out of their own homes due to new safety regulations due to their Surfside condo collapse.
I'm just looking up.
Yeah, it looks like it was in 21. I'm just looking right. I think you're right. I think it was Surfside.
2021, right?
And it was a lot of people.
Yeah, actually killed 98 residents.
Yeah, I'm
Says-
just looking up the well,
Champlain,
you know what? Oh, yeah, here it is. It's called
Champlain Towers.
this is what you want to look up on YouTube. Can Florida condo owners survive this crisis? And this is that realtor that I came across 5 months ago predicting, can Florida condo owners survive this crisis? This is just serious. And this isn't just like, YouTube
Gossip or
fright be afraid and watch my video kind of thing. This really looked legitimate to me. So,
right.
well, cool. Any other things that you want to talk about, Scott, tonight? Because we've been on for about an hour and
Yeah, no, I came in late, but yeah, this is the main thing. I mean, so you'll do this again in 2 weeks,
yes, yeah, and then I'll see you next week down in Music Town,
right? Yeah, exactly.
and then
Probably
Yeah.
have this in hand.
get through some more of the material, and let's go buy some notes. We'll figure it out.
Sounds good.
Okay. Anybody else
right.
before we wrap up here? I really appreciate everybody being on here this evening. Got a light crowd. I guess Memorial Day weekend. I was going to wear my red, white, and blue shirt, but I'm saving it for Nashville.
All right. Any good places to eat in Nashville? Do you know Nashville at all? Or
Yeah, we were just down there.
oh,
We were just there. I'm going to have to review my notes. And
yeah, it's gonna be a brief trip.
oh, for you're in and out, huh?
Yeah, really. Yeah, Friday night, Sunday morning, and Friday night.
Well,
afternoon.
take a real good look at that Hoover app.
Yeah, there's a lot out there. It's a great app.
That's a great app. It's a great way to network. You're not going to be able to meet all 300 people while you're down there, but
I mean,
take advantage of that app.
yeah, I would at least familiarize myself with the speakers and
Yeah, and
What's
who
going
knows?
on?
Maybe there are certain profiles that you may want to target. Look for
Yes,
it's
individuals.
true. Well,
that you
yeah,
up, in your particular area, and then look for them while you're there.
right. Good idea.
Take a ride out, Tony.
Yeah, maybe not this one, but I'd love to go sometime. Sure.
Yeah, I'd love to see it one.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, have a great night. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Right,
You too.
see you.
Thanks.
Good night.
Yeah.
Good one. Take care.